Today I'm going to share with you why everybody else is just getting ahead while you're just getting by. Hi, my name is 𝗏𝗏𝗧𝗏. I'm a solar expert. I've helped families all across Utah to be able to take and implement solar. Okay? Solar is not just about going green, and it's just not just about saving money, although it'll do that. It is so much more. Today I'm going to share with you a secret about your two largest expenses. And once you understand this, you can then take these largest expenses and make them work for you rather than against you. And once I show it to you, you'll instantly know that it's true, okay? When you and I when we were in school, they didn't actually teach us the most important math that we needed to know. You know, they taught us trigonometry and they taught us calculus. But in your adult life, how many of you have used trigonometry or calculus? My guess is there's probably 1 or 2 out of 100 that have used that. Like, they could have taught us simply the rule of 72 when we were in the 5th grade. That would have been very helpful. What they didn't also teach us is about these two biggest expenses in life, which I will take and I will share with you today, okay? So I want you, before I take and do that, take and write down on a sheet of paper the 2 most expensive things that you currently have today. So not 80, not more than that, just write down your 2 largest expenses, okay? My guess is you're taking and you're writing right now something like my home, okay? You might be writing it's a student loan. You might be writing that it's probably like maybe a car loan. Or you might be writing, this one right here is my particular favorite. Somebody will write, it's my kids, okay? These, in fact, are not your 2 largest expenses, okay? I will take and I will share with you these 2 largest expenses, okay? I'm going to start with number 2. I'm going to cheat a little bit. I'm going to start with number 2, okay? Your second largest expense is taxes, okay? You're paying 51%. You're paying 51% out of every dollar that you earn. Okay, that's 51 cents out of a dollar. That is $5.10 out of every $10. That is $51 out of every $100. That is $5,100 out of every $10,000. That's 51,000 out of every out of every 100,000, and that's 510,000 out of every $1 million. It's 51% out of every dollar. And you're probably like, nah, Mike, that's not true. I'm only in the 22% tax bracket. It's a sneak attack, see? They tax you when you earn it, that's called income tax. They tax you when you spend it, that's called sales tax. See? Did you see it? You just got double tax on the exact same money, okay? They tax you, so if you sell the thing for more than you paid for it, that's called capital gains tax. They tax you while you own it, that's called property tax, and God forbid you die, they're going to tax you again. See, you spend, as a W-2 wage earner, you spend 51% out of every dollar that you earn to taxes. Now, would you like to know how to take and to reduce these taxes, or at least make sure you have a larger 49% left over? That's why you deserve to earn $1 million. Okay? That's why you deserve to earn $1 million. Okay? Now, before I take and I tell you what your number 1 expense is, I have a question for you. Do you know somebody that can bake a chocolate cake, an amazing chocolate cake? Okay, and this person that can bake this amazing chocolate cake, can that person take and teach me how to bake a chocolate cake? Can one intelligent person teach another intelligent person how to bake a chocolate cake? And obviously the answer is yes. Okay, so this is your number 1 largest expense. Okay, it is ignorance about how to make $1 million. That is your largest expense, and you're probably laughing. Like, don't laugh at this. Like, this is actually true. This is serious, okay? This is kind of like, go get your family. Let's take them run to the safety, okay? This is that important. Let's just say, I'll show you for example. Let's just say you're a relatively high income earner. How much money did you take and you make last year? You made like something like, let's say you're a high income earner and you made $80,000, okay? You made $80,000 last year. So I take $1 million minus your $80,000. That is how much you paid life, $920,000 last year by not knowing how to make $1 million. Now, let's just say, oh, you believe all the lies, like I'm not smart enough, I'm not intelligent enough, I don't have as much time, I can't learn, I just pick a whole host of these things, right? And so let's just say you only reach $500,000. Okay, you made $500,000. So I take your $80,000 you made, minus the 500, that gives you $420,000. That is how much you paid life last year by not knowing how to make $1 million. This is your biggest expense. And like, the question is, like when you start looking at this, the question is not like, will my wife allow me to do this? My wife or my husband allow me to do this? Do I have $10,000 or $20,000 or $2,000 to invest? Do I, like, think of another excuse? The only question you need to ask yourself is this: do I want to pay life $920,000 again next year like I did last year by not figuring out how to end this cycle? That is your biggest expense in life. It is your time to win. It is your time to get ahead. Stop paying life the biggest expense of all, which is ignorance. Now, I'll take it all. This is so important. Like, you see this, visualize this with me, okay? In the 1930s, there was a gentleman by the name of Napoleon Hill, okay? And Andrew Carnegie. Andrew Carnegie was the richest man in the world at the time. And the richest man in the world at the time, he said, he went and found Napoleon Hill. He said, Napoleon Hill, what I want you to do is to go out and document success. Study the wealthiest people in all of America and come up with a philosophy. Like, what are the characteristics of these super successful people? Document it so that then we can provide this to, like, the average people like us, so that they can take and get ahead. And so it took him 20 years to study this, do this landmark study. And when he got done, he published this book called Think and Grow Rich. What's phenomenal about this book is they found that, in fact, all of these successful individuals had 16 characteristics in common. Now, you and I are trying to get ahead in life. Wouldn't it be valuable to have been born with these 16 characteristics so that we can get ahead? So his second discovery was more phenomenal than the first, that none of these successful people were actually born with these characteristics. They actually all accumulated all of these characteristics, okay? And so what was phenomenal about that, I'm going to share with you one of the characteristics that was so important, that he ended up discovering that people that were successful knew what they wanted, they could make decisions, but they made a decision, recognized the opportunity, and then pursued that opportunity until they were successful. And so Napoleon takes and shares this story about this gentleman by 𝗪𝗪𝗏. 𝗪𝗪𝗏, he had gone to Colorado, and during a gold rush, and they had found gold, which got them really excited. So they actually went home, they got the resources and assets together, and returned and started mining the earth. When they pulled the first cartload out, they ended up sending it off to the smelter and discovered that they had one of the richest mines in all of Colorado. And so, man, up went their hopes, down went the drills, and they started drilling, and then all of a sudden something happened. The pot of gold at the end of the rainbow, it just disappeared. And they drilled on and drilled on desperately trying to find the pot of gold, trying to find this pot of gold again. And then finally they just gave up. They took and they sold off all these assets to this junk collector, and they got on a train and went home. Okay, some junk collectors are dumb, but not this particular one. He knew enough to know that he did not know the answer. And so he went and he hired an engineer who understood fault lines. And this engineer came in and he studied the fault line, and he came to the conclusion that the reason this particular mining effort failed is because the previous owners did not know about fault lines, and that 3 feet over from where they stopped drilling is exactly where the fault line would be discovered. And using that advice, the junk man took millions out of the earth by doing this mining. And the biggest expense of all, by far, that Darby ended up paying is ignorance of knowing how to solve his problem, how to make that particular money. Now, this is so important. Do you want to get ahead, and do you want to pay life the biggest expense of all, of ignorance? Here is an example. In the U.S. Department of Energy, they collect data across a large period of time so that we can analyze how things have changed, okay? So today, in 2019, you're probably paying for your electric bill $150 a month. It's right there. It's about average for what people are paying in Utah. That same electric bill coming back here into the 1960s was $27 a month. That's what it was. This period, this represents a 555% increase in the cost of our power, okay? This is where solar steps in. Solar steps in, and in Utah, I'll show you this. In Utah, we pay 14 cents a kilowatt hour, okay? 14 cents per kilowatt hour. Now you might be saying, what is a kilowatt hour? Kilowatt hour is it's just a unit of measure. It's like a gallon of gas. This is a unit of electricity. That's all it is, okay? Solar produces power at 6 cents per kilowatt hour, okay? That is 8 cents per kilowatt hour cheaper. That's how much cheaper solar is, and it can produce power than what the utility company is. Here's the big difference. This allows us, in essence, to come all the way back here to a place in time on this graph, and then to take and to peg it. There's three things that solar does that's very critical, okay? Solar one, it requires zero down. There's $0 down, okay? Solar two, number two, it's cheaper. A solar system is far cheaper than a utility company. The only thing a utility company is going to do is continue to do this. They will continue to raise prices. A solar panel doesn't care about inflation. It doesn't care about pay raises. It does one thing, produce power, and it produces power at less than half the cost of what a utility company provides it at, okay? Three, zero, cheaper, owned. Solar power allows an individual to take and start owning its asset. Like if you were to take and rent your house the rest of your life, all of the wealth would accumulate to the owner of the house. Hence, most of us take and buy our own assets because we want the wealth to accumulate to us. Solar allows that to take place by transferring ownership from the utility company to you as the owner so that you can start getting ahead. This is a snapshot into helping you understand that ignorance is the biggest expense of all, is the biggest expense that will cost you more money in this lifetime than anything else. And if you are tired of paying life like $920,000 but not discovering how to get ahead, then just simply click the button below and get help. And we will I will help you get on this path, or on this trajectory to obtaining that success. So later.